right. Hey, Vikings fans, welcome in to another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
I'm Austin. I'm Forrest.
Forrest is here joining us again, and we're just a couple of dudes from Iowa.
A few dudes
who like drinking beer and talking about the Vikings. We've got a special beer.
Yeah, we do.
Today. You want?
Let's skol to it first.
Let's do that.
Oh, there it is. Oh.
Austin, why don't you tell us why this beer is so special?
Well, I'll introduce it, but I want Forrest to talk about it the most because he is the mastermind behind the beer. It is the one and only Skol Hop. We brewed our own beer, named after our podcast. It is inspired by your love of amber beers, my love of IPAs. It's an ambery, hoppy, beautiful, delicious concoction of beer. And Forrest, tell us about it. What were you thinking when you made up this recipe?
Well, first thing I was thinking is, why did I get myself into this? But I've come to love your podcast and you guys. So anytime I get a chance to brew beer, I'm all for it. So, but no, it's a like you said, described it as a malty, hoppy beer, taking influence from both of you guys. So we had that brew day, designed the beer with some just basic malts, and then 3 different hop profiles, and then we just let nature do its work with the yeast, and voila, here we are. So it was a long time coming, and that actually only about a month and a half. But I think ever since we brewed that day, we were very excited about the potential of this, and I think the fruits of our labor have paid off. So
absolutely,
indeed they have. And we got to kind of like at different points in the process too try some things. Like we tried the wort, which was kind of the pre-fermented beer, right?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. We also tried it after it was fermented, before we added the carbonation, right? So at a few points along the way, we got to try it out, and every single time was just awesome.
You just start with that foundation of you like you said, the wort, that base profile, and then after we had boiled it with the hops, trying it again, and then coming back a few weeks later after it had fermented, actually getting that alcohol content, but no carbonation yet, and then now the fourth step, trying it again, now full-fledged beer with carbonation. So
the good stuff. And you guys, I have no problem admitting I was nervous how the bottles would turn out, because we put most of it in a keg, right?
That is true. 3.5 gallons is still sitting in a keg.
We still got to plan out something for that. Have like a bonfire or something. We'll figure that out. But we did 6 bottles kind of for the podcast so that we could present it, made up a fun little label, and we used the bottling tablets that you have that make it not ferment, but carbonate.
Yep.
And I was nervous. There's a little bit of sediment, but it's an unfiltered beer, so you're going to get that.
Yeah.
And then I think the tablet, you were saying the tablet probably added a little bit more sediment, but in the pour, in the glass, it's carbonated. It tastes amazing. It's very ambery with a perfect little hint of hop that I'm getting, but I love it. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed, and not to toot my own horn, but this beer is very delicious, and I'm looking forward to having a little bit more here tonight, and then cracking open that keg and whenever time comes. So
and we have some content, some video content, some stuff from the actual brew process, and a little bit. So maybe we'll cut something up, throw it out on YouTube or TikTok or something.
We've got the episode obviously that we recorded in your garage, but then we also have a lot of additional footage that I've started to piece together. But I actually wanted to get the
culmination.
I wanted us to try it, and I wanted to have some footage of us enjoying it before we publish that. So now that we've checked that box, we can splice some of that footage into that, and be on the lookout for something probably on our YouTube channel.
That seems like the most
where that'll come out. it'll be fun and bring you, our audience, into the brewing process. I learned a lot in the brewing process. That was my first time ever brewing. You've brewed
a couple of times with Forrest, yeah.
That was fascinating, though. I felt like half chemist and half artist. Like, it was just like the perfect combination of both. And I don't know, it was fun. What about the process? Would you say is like, you've already kind of hinted at this, I feel like, but like what's the most important part of it? Like, if you don't do this, you're not gonna have good beer.
I think cleanliness.
Oh yeah, sanitation.
Sanitation is the most important. Why waste your time if you're just gonna put it into a dirty bucket or even bottle once you finish the brewing? I mean, those flavors will come off. So make sure you clean and sanitize. I think any brewer will tell you that is the most important. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's a wasted effort. So
yeah, if you don't sanitize, you can come out with a drinkable alcoholic beer that just doesn't taste good because of the ingredients you chose. But if you don't sanitize, you could come out with mold and just poison.
Yeah. and sometimes it's no intention, but something just gets missed, stuck on the side of something. And I have had to pour out a lot of beer on one occasion, 5 gallons worth, because it got infected, and
that hurts.
It's not a fun thing to see it go down the drain. So
yeah.
Speaking from experience.
We did start by cleaning. We cleaned everything. We cleaned for probably about an hour, I feel like.
It was quite a while. Yeah.
So, we put a lot of different grain into this beer too.
You did. You were the one that
give yourself some credit.
I physically went like this, but I mean, that was mostly my main contribution to the beer. But tell us about the grain. What do we have?
Yeah, so it's
here?
Mainly I think 7 pounds worth of 2-row malt, which is basically a standard for almost any beer style. It's so common around this area, and it just goes well. And then you start to add the maltier, darker colors. So we put some biscuit malt into there and some Vienna malt. So gave it that nice amber color, a little more like some malty biscuity flavor. So yeah, it turned out really well. So I think all in all, I think there's like 9 pounds of grain for a 5-gallon brew. So
I poured a lot of bags of grain into the bucket. Yeah, that sounds about right.
But we had fun doing it. I had them try the grain before they went into the mash tun, and then even after what they call the spent grain, after the water's been soaked on it, just trying it, getting that flavor. That's what the beer's probably going to taste similar to. So it was a lot of fun to do those types of things throughout the brew process.
Yeah, I had a blast. I brewed with you probably 5 or so times at this point. It's always been a blast. Of course, when you brew, the brew doesn't count if you didn't also enjoy a few brews during the process.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a rite of passage. You have to drink beer while brewing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely did that.
Lovely cyclical process. You drink
right.
beer while you brew beer.
Well, there's so much time that you're just waiting around. What else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So,
well, in our case, record a podcast.
We did record the podcast. That was great. But I tell you, it was fun. Brewing in Austin's Garage's different location.
Because this is a bona fide Iowa brewed beer.
This is a definitely Iowa brew from the water that came from Iowa, and obviously all the brew steps were done there. So certified Iowan. Iowegian, I don't know. What is Iowan? Iowegian?
I think it's whatever you're comfortable with.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
We managed to keep your dog out of it too.
We did. She tried to poke her head in a little bit.
She
Not
almost,
the beer, but the podcast.
Yeah, she almost got into the beer too.
Otherwise, we would have had to call that hair of the dog.
We avoided that, which is a good thing.
We did.
What were the hops that we put in here? Because we added hops to the actual brew, but then we dry hopped later too.
We did. So the majority, so different times. So we used Centennial hops Cascade, and then a new one that I had never used is called Mandarin. But all three different hop profiles with how bitter they can become. The Centennial has more of like a piney taste, where the Cascade and the other are more citrusy, so it kind of balanced out well from that perspective. And if you know anything about brewing it, the longer you boil it, the more bitter it becomes because of all those oils in the hop. So we did that, and then we dry hopped just a little bit of the Cascade, I believe, just a week before we ended the fermentation.
Yeah, it was about 6 or 7 days.
And that's, like I said, that's mainly just to give more of the aroma. It does not add really any bitterness or flavor to it. But as you know, with like hazies, it can add cloudiness. Obviously, you can't see as well with a darker beer. So,
yeah.
I have a question that you may not know the answer to, and that's okay. But we have on our logo the hop plant as part of the logo. It's basically the hop plant with the Viking helmet on top.
You can see it down below us if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify.
I was surprised when we brewed that the hops that we put in the beer didn't look like that.
Ah, yes.
Why is that the case?
Yes, so that is a full hop that comes off the plant, like a hop vine. So basically, it's a whole bud of like a flower, and basically what they're doing with most times they basically put it into like a powder form and pack it into a pellet form. So basically, for ease of business, but you can get hops in just the leaves and everything, fresh leaf hops and stuff like that. So just it's usually easier and cleaner to do the pellets. So
yeah. Yeah, I remember the first time I brewed with you being a little confused. Like, I guess that's hops. That's not what I thought it would look like.
It's a great question.
Yeah, because if you've,
like you said,
you walk in thinking like, okay, we're gonna brew beer and we're gonna add hops, and you just think they're gonna look like a hop that you're used to seeing, and then you pulled out the bags, and I'm like, oh, that looks like dog food.
Yeah,
kind of.
I mean, I you know what I accomplished to fish food, you know, with those
little green pellets
that you throw into a fish tank. So I mean, first time I brewed, I had the same type of thought process. So,
but there's no mistaking. You open that bag,
you can smell it.
You are overwhelmed with the hoppy aroma,
and that's just like in each bag we opened was only like 1 ounce of hops in it. It packs a punch. I mean, unless you're doing a major IPA, you don't need a ton to put in there. It'll pack a punch. So
your garage smelled real good after that.
Gosh, yeah, and then it went away after a couple of days. I was sad the first time I walked out and I didn't get hit with the brew smell.
It was also like February when we brewed, and it gets cold, and the cold kind of chases away the smell. So
anytime you want to brew at your house, just let me know to get that smell back in your garage.
Oh yeah, I don't even need to be home. I can just come home if you're in my garage brewing a beer. Like, okay, all right.
Hey, if this is the success rate I'm getting from your place, I'll take it every single day. So
I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit.
Yep.
Where do you rank this on beers that you've brewed? Because at this point, how many beers do you think you've brewed?
I've probably done
it's not
30 home brews probably.
Yeah. And how many of those were not just like you bought the
So
box?
I probably would equate it probably 23, or
that
so.
You made the recipe,
what they call all grain recipes. So you're doing everything from start to scratch. This is probably top 3. I mean, you can't deny, you know, we hit our levels at every measurement. So it ended up being a 6% alcohol beer. So not heavy, but definitely not one, you know, that you could crush, you know, in a few seconds either. So
no.
So no, it ended up really well. That I think that's what we were aiming for when I designed the beer, was around 6%. So I was just happy at every moment we were taking measurements and testing quality, that everything was coming together, and you just had that feeling that it was going to be a good beer. And I don't know, like I said, maybe it's the good mojo of Iowa. Maybe I had the pressure on me to make a good beer for you guys. I don't know.
Well, thank you very much for everything you've done for the Skol Hop beer. And the Skol hop itself, this beer is fantastic. It is 6%, right at 6%.
It is 6%. So usually most stuff I brew just because of drinkability, I make around 5%. So I was excited to do something just a smidge heavier. So
yeah. And we don't know specifically like the IBUs or anything.
So I can guesstimate the IBUs. So that's basically what they call it, international bittering units. So the higher the number, the more bitter it is. So we're probably around 35.
Yeah, it's not very high.
No,
it's
so
not a
it's
super bitter.
probably just a little less than what a pale ale is. So, like I said, we added a lot more hops than normal for an amber, and you taste it on the backside, but nothing too extreme from a bitterness factor.
Yeah,
So,
I like it a lot.
yeah.
It's very, very good. Is there anything that you would do differently?
Oh, that's probably a question I would throw at you guys for taste, but I'd say for me, I'm one that I don't think I've ever made the same beer twice.
True.
I'm always trying to tweak, and maybe that's why I don't know. I'm just never fully satisfied. This is up there though, so there might be a few things I'd tweak on this. If you wanted more hoppiness, I'd add a little more hop to it during the boil. So yeah, probably that would be my only critique if that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, I think for me, just maybe like 5% more hoppiness if I were to change anything. But I don't think I'd want to. Like this is fantastic. It's not like we're just saying like, oh, it's drinkable. Like this is a really good beer. This is up there with the other beers that we've had on the podcast. Like,
agreed.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear Evan's thoughts, but I'd also, since Austin, you've tried several of my other home brews. What's your ranking on this for?
Oh man,
and not to be biased, since this is technically your beer as well.
Sure, yeah. So I definitely, I think I'd agree and say top 3. I think I've said it a million times. I haven't had a bad beer that you've made. There is the one that we both kind of agree isn't awesome, but it wasn't bad. It was just not.
Just wasn't what we were.
It was a fine beer.
Yep.
But the one that we brewed for my son, that was a really good one. Like really good one.
That was a really good one.
So those are probably the top 2. The Hank IPA and the Skol hop.
Maybe it's you, because I'd agree. That's also in my top 3.
Yeah.
Your youngest is beer. I just for everyone to know that I had this idea, when my friends had kids, that we were going to brew a beer, in their honor. So, a lot of people, had cigars, when they have a kid. And well, obviously I'm not really a smoker, so I'm going to do a beer instead. So just a little bit of twist. So that's where that came from. So.
Yeah.
I'm sad that I never got to try the Hank.
Yeah, we have the recipe. Maybe we can try that sometime.
We might be able to bring it on.
I don't remember it being a difficult beer to make.
No, I think it was fairly clean from that standpoint.
And that one was more
difficult.
of like a hazy, citrusy IPA, wasn't it?
We did a session pale ale, I believe, just to make sure it was a lower alcohol content. So, but yes, citrusy flavor. So, yep. So
sweet.
But Evan,
did you answer yet?
This is a tough question to answer because I've had a lot of really good beer in my life, and it's also tough because I'm obviously biased.
Oh, absolutely! It's got our logo on it.
We all literally poured stuff in, contributed to Forrest mostly, but us as well.
Yeah, we were assisting. We held the flashlight.
You guys say that, but you did more than you think you did. Maybe that's why this beer is so good. Teamwork.
And we were maybe the inspiration for the recipe. I think you took our tastes in beer, and I mean, gosh, if you go back and listen to anything from the football season, it seemed like we just alternated Hoppy IPA when Austin was bringing the beer, and Oktoberfest, Amber, Red, anything in that category if I was bringing the beer. And I feel like we've got a perfect mixture of that right here. I agree. There could maybe be a little more hoppiness, and I think I had the idea while we've been sitting here that maybe we brew a few more beers, and maybe we do a hoppy one and an amber one, more kind of.
We could have Evan's version and Austin's version.
That's right. We could have our own individual beers.
Yeah,
and then we could save a little bit of this, and then we could do a little beer flight someday.
Ooh.
Skol Hop beer flight.
Yeah.
But I just gave you 2 more beers to brew.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier in the podcast, when it comes to drinking beer, making beer, anything beer, I'm all in for. So.
Yep.
Well, I would put this up there. I mean, gosh, this has to be top, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a really good beer. I like IPAs, too.
Oh, yeah.
To be fair, just like you like ambers. If I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to pull the amber and you'll pull the IPA, most likely. And I think this captures the essence of both of those perfectly in a very good way, in a drinkable way. 6% isn't anything that's gonna knock you off your feet, but it's also got a little bit of weight to it, like you said. And in terms of beer that I've helped brew, this is tops. This is tops. This is up there.
Well, that's encouraging to hear that you had a good experience, not only just because the beer turned out well, but I was fairly impressed that you just rattled out the word wart, earlier in the podcast. It's like, man, he's actually listening to me. So
I'm an English teacher, and I hope that my students retain the information that I teach.
There you go.
I retained a few things.
There you go.
There you go.
The process.
So what I'm hearing is maybe I'll be the assistant next time, and you guys.
No. We want a good beer. We want a good beer.
Yes, we want something like this, not something that we're like. But all in all, this is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sad we only have 2 bottles each right now,
Yes.
but we have 3 more gallons at home. So
I may have to just pause the recording, go get the keg really quick, tap
the
it.
keg right on the.
Just means we got to make sure we hit that keg sooner than later.
Yeah, we need to start planning.
Agreed. Well, we should talk a little football.
Yeah, we do.
While we're here,
we talk beer, but we also talk Vikings. And Forrest, you're a Bears fan. You're mostly a Michigan fan, but you're a Bears fan.
we talked about this to a fair degree on other podcasts I've been on. Yeah, Bears fan, but nothing extreme. Like I would never do a Bears podcast. Not only because I don't know, they're the Bears. So
I think we can. Do you think we can switch you to the light side?
No,
you're in the dark side right now.
Nah, I'm too deep into the Bears.
I respect that. I don't think, even if you did say, I'll switch and be a Vikings fan, I think it would always feel a little dirty.
Yeah, I definitely would. So
all right, but you listen to a Vikings podcast. And
I listen to it every week. You have me hooked.
Sweet, that makes me feel good. All right, Bears question. Let's just get it out of the way right now. How are you feeling about Caleb Williams?
Well, I think we've also kind of discussed this on
I just like
previous podcasts. I guess I have to come around to the idea, and once start off saying there's no doubt he is a very gifted, talented athlete. No doubt in my mind from the very beginning. You don't go to 2 major universities and be starting QB, so and win the Heisman 1 year of it. So I think his attitude though is just, from what I saw in college ball, not a team player, sore sport when things weren't going his way, and I just don't like that. I think that can bring a poison, a cancer into a locker room, and even if he's just the rookie, coming into a veteran locker room, it can create waves and divides, and I just don't like that. But to answer fully your question, I've had to come around with knowing that the Bears will select him, and I just hope for the best, that maybe he will turn it around attitude-wise with a great team, it looks like, for the Bears. I mean, I'm pretty excited this year with the weapons and everything that
they're playing some fantasy football in the off season. So,
they are,
and it seems like some good moves.
Is there someone else you'd rather see the Bears take? I mean, they control their destiny. They're number one overall.
For me, it would just be trading down. I mean, I think it'd be. a waste of a one to take anyone else besides Caleb Williams personally. So in that aspect, I would rather trade down a couple spots and get still a good quarterback, and then get some more value out of picks and everything. I think there are other great quarterbacks in this draft, and they may not be starting day one like Caleb Williams, but I think you can respect a lot of these QBs coming.
Here's my cynical Vikings fan hope for Caleb Williams.
Is it the same one as Justin Fields that you had?
Who was right about Justin Fields?
We'll never know.
We do know. The Bears got rid of him for nothing.
Well, yeah.
But
we'll see how he does.
Yeah, he's cooked. Unless he switches to his natural position, running back. But my cynical Vikings fan hope for Caleb Williams is that he has been hyped up for so long, and he has been the crowned number one overall pick for at least a year now. I hope the Bears, in scouting him, just watched his tape and are like, oh yeah, that's why he's number one. That's why he's number one. And they only looked at the good things, and they didn't do a fair, full evaluation. They just did it knowing he's going to be number one, and proved their thoughts right with the plays that they picked to say, yes, that's who he is. And they ignored the poor plays and the crying on the sidelines. I
couldn't agree more.
So that's my hope as a Vikings fan. Is that
I would
they
say,
fumble it.
I mean, look why he didn't win the Heisman, this past season, he didn't have as great of a season, and part of that's other parts of the team, but you just look at, like you said, his stats and the way he threw the ball, and it just wasn't as impressive as the year before. So
he's a good quarterback. I mean, I'm not saying the Bears are making a terrible decision. The Vikings would pick him if they had the number one pick. He's a good quarterback. He'll be okay. I hope he doesn't hit the height that he's projected to hit. That would kind of stink. I hope whoever the Vikings pick is the right guy.
He doesn't seem to be like a Patrick Mahomes type of generational talent.
But even coming out of college, Pat Mahomes didn't seem like that.
True.
Nobody knew.
True.
So
I would say that the one thing going good for Caleb Williams is the Bears have good weapons this year for him to be part of that offense, where I don't think that was necessarily true with Justin Fields or Mitch Trubisky. So not saying those guys were as good as Caleb Williams, coming out of college, but that's my, I guess, what I'm holding on for hope is there's good supporting cast for him to break into the league. So
they've definitely made some moves to try to make it a good situation for a rookie quarterback. Yeah. And I think the Vikings are also a good situation for a rookie quarterback. I mean, you have the best non-quarterback player in the league, Justin Jefferson. Yes. When he does get healthy, TJ Hawkinson is a reliable target, except for a few games at the beginning of the season last year. The running game needs some help. Needs a lot of help.
But the offensive line is pretty strong. A couple of the best tackles in the league.
Yeah, and I think they need to get off their tush and sign Dalton Reisner back. So he got a new agent, Drew Rosenhaus, so we'll see if there's some movement there. I say the running back's an issue. I forget that the Vikings signed Aaron Jones, a 30-year-old, 29-year-old running back.
If he can produce like he did the last couple games of the season in the playoff game, I mean,
he's like a Honda with 100,000 miles on it.
They last forever.
Yeah, Evan loves this analogy so much. He's a used car that what you're gonna get.
So
he's a good used car.
Nothing gonna be reliable.
Nothing too flashy, but reliable.
Yeah. Okay. He does rock that sombrero. I don't know where that came from. I don't understand that reference, but
neither do I. But people love it.
I'm sure we'll learn.
I've heard he's a good dude and a good locker room guy, and hopefully it doesn't turn out to be negative. I mean, I don't think there's really any way it could be negative unless he pulls an Alex Madison and doesn't do anything this year.
If he can score a few rushing touchdowns before week 5, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah.
All right, so you have talked about it obviously to a great extent the last couple weeks on your shows, and so as of today, what's your feeling? What do you want the Vikings to do with that first round?
What do we want, or what do we expect?
Both.
So I think the first part of that is trading up. I think that's the expect part. I think it's fair to say we both expect the Vikings to package 11 and 23, and maybe a high-ish round pick for next season. Not a first. I don't think they have to give a first for next season. But I'm also just a dude in your basement right now. I don't know anything. So at least those two first-round picks this year, they're going to package those with something else to move up into 3, 4, 5, that range. That's what I'm expecting.
Yes, I expect the same. I think they'll get into the top 5. I think the Patriots and the Cardinals are the most likely suitors at this point. I don't think the Chargers are, but they could be, I guess.
I think they could. I think they're all somewhat even in my mind. I think they're all about even.
I don't know.
So what do you think they're going to do?
I think they're going to try like crazy to trade up, and then from there, I don't know who they pick, whether it's 3, 4, 5, even 6. I don't know which quarterback, but it will be to get a quarterback.
Do you think if it goes Caleb Williams and say Drake May, does that impact the Vikings of what they want to do? Or do you think they're so in love with Drake May that it changes how they play out that first round? Or do you think they're okay with, if Drake's off the board, that JJ is the next best option, and they're okay with that?
So if I had to bet on it and bet a lot of money knowing I'd win, I'd say the Vikings are going to trade up and either get Drake May or JJ. But this time of year is so hard to predict what's going to happen. Even if a GM says something, you can't really read it. This time last year, everybody was saying Will Levis could be a top 10 pick. And where did he go? Like the second or third round? Like, nobody really knows what's going to happen and who's telling the truth and who's saying, oh, we really like this guy, if they really don't like that guy. Like, nobody really knows. Like, it's just so hard this time of year for a casual person to try to read and see what's going to happen, because we could go through all this and Drake May could fall to the third round.
And we're watching these GMs and coaches play poker, basically. I mean, and a lot of times they're holding their cards to their chest, they're bluffing, they are putting a smoke screen out there, saying one thing but then doing another. So yeah, like you said, it's very challenging to know what's actually going to happen on draft day. So
it's going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting draft, especially first night. I'm going to say it's going to be a hard one to watch if JJ goes to the Vikings. Maybe you'll see me cheer a little bit.
Yeah, you'll be excited for him.
I will. I'm a big JJ McCarthy fan. I mean, I think he's got all the talent in the world, and I don't think. I mean, you can say what you want about Jim Harbaugh, but the dude knows a quarterback, and if he's saying he's one of the best in the draft this year, I would put money on it and just look at the results. So
yeah. But, I mean, even think back to the last time you were on the Skol Hop when we did the beer brewing episode. Yeah. At that point in time, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, the conventional thought on JJ is, oh, he could be a high second-round pick. Well, like low first, high, like late first.
I think I said anywhere between 12 and 20 when we were on the brew day. So, yeah, he's moved up definitely on a lot of boards.
And since then, like, they've had the combine and some workouts and stuff, but like it's not like they played more games. It's not like he has shown himself in the second half of a season since then. It's just been combine stuff. He threw a ball in the hall of a hotel and everybody thought it looked beautiful, and then people are saying nice things about him. I don't know what's going to happen, and I can't say that if they announce any name that I'll be happy or mad. I'll probably be excited, but like I don't know why I'd be mad if the Vikings picked him or happy they picked him. It's just I wish it were more predictable right now.
Yeah, but that's what makes the draft fun. So
I think we talked about this a little bit last week in our episode, but I think we would be disappointed if they didn't take a quarterback in the first round.
Absolutely.
Like, that is a huge miss. And I said this last week, and I don't take it back for a second. Kwesi might claim that Sam Darnold isn't a bridge quarterback, but he absolutely is. And they obviously are. And again, that was probably just a very simple bluff of his.
I think he just doesn't like to use the term bridge.
Sure.
See, I'm under the. I'm kind of jealous of your guys' scenario where you have that bridge quarterback. Mm-hmm. I would have loved even if it was Justin Fields for the Bears, just to hold on to him for the one more year. I mean, he was still on the rookie contract.
But hey, the Bears got that 6th-round pick, so it's way better.
Yeah. It could be a 4. It could be a 4 if he plays 51% of the snaps.
It might be a 4.
And you have Tyson Bagent, so
yeah,
he's good.
But I really was hoping, to. That way you could trade down, get some more value, and then still get a great quarterback to learn in the system for a year. And I don't know. I'm under a deep conviction that usually is the way to go. You look at the majority of these quarterbacks that are successful, they weren't starting in year one. So
I mean, Pat Mahomes is becoming the new easy example that Tom Brady always has been. But Pat Mahomes, he didn't play his rookie year.
Exactly.
And they traded up from like 23 to number 10 to get him. So
exactly.
I will say this, as far as the Bears go, and this is going to sound like I'm crapping on the Bears, but if you have a GM and a coach who for 2 straight seasons own, at least at one point in time, own the first overall pick, if you go 2 years later after that and you're not showing some actual results from having all that capital, that's a high pressure situation. It's high pressure to be any GM or head coach, but like to say like, okay, Bears, what are you doing? You got Caleb freaking Williams. Why aren't you winning? So it's high pressure. Like,
it is, and that's part of the pressure of having that first overall pick. And I was really happy with how they handled it, trading down last year, and it worked out well. I think we established some good players, and so I'm just hoping Poles knows what he's doing. Obviously, he comes from the Chiefs, and he knows.
He's been around success.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, hopefully not too much success in Chicago though, because we still need the Vikings.
And like I said, the last thing about the Bears is, they did actually get better. This past season, going from 3 wins, and finished with a tie with your Vikings. So
yeah, because
I'm hopeful.
Yeah, when you were on the show for the first time, you said, I hope the Bears get to 3 wins, and that was almost halfway through the season.
I was shocked. I was actually shocked.
Yeah.
But
well, and some of that, they obviously got a boost in their quarterback play because Fields was out for a little while. So
yeah.
Well, a lot to look forward to in the draft, specifically for both franchises.
Absolutely.
And seems like both franchises are going to target a quarterback in the very quarterback-rich.
I should hope so.
First round. It seems like, it makes sense, right? The NFL is an NFL. I can't speak. The NFL is a quarterback happy league. It's a pass-happy league, and so it would make sense that there are a lot of good quarterbacks coming up, and there are a lot of quarterback needy teams in the NFL. So it takes a lot. It takes skill, it takes intelligence, it takes years of practice, and it also takes really good coaching in the right situation with the right supporting cast around them. And so I think it'll be really interesting. It'll be kind of a case study, I think, in quarterbacks.
Oh, absolutely.
Comparing the Vikings and the Bears. If we were to come back and brew another beer in a couple of years and reflect on this episode 34 and go, yeah, remember when we were talking about J.J. McCarthy going to the Vikings? Remember when Caleb Williams...
At least one of us, or one or two of us, are going to look foolish.
Yeah, right?
I know it. I just know it.
Remember when Caleb Williams was the number 1 overall pick? Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, you go back to the past and you look at these good players and realize, say what you want about Kirk Cousins. He was a 4th-round pick, and he has outplayed what a 4th-round pick should play. Russell Wilson, yeah, make fun of him now, but like he won a couple Super Bowls, and he was like a 3rd-round pick, like in the same year that Andrew Luck was drafted and Kirk Cousins. But like we just never know. You can't know how guys are going to pan out. There's going to be sure things, like even Trevor Lawrence. He was the next coming of every great quarterback that's ever lived, and he's good right now. Like, he's okay.
I mean, he's been in the league 2 years now, and I mean, I'd say he's put together 2 pretty good, seasons for.
Yeah, but he hasn't been the 5,000-yard, 60-touchdown
not yet,
guy.
And he may not ever get there, but I think I'd say they got to feel better about their draft pick than I can't remember 2 years ago who else was on the QB board, but there's other teams out there, and I think Trevor Lawrence still has a bright future.
I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but like,
no, I get what your point is though.
Yeah. So it's a lot of pressure. That quarterback is the most important position in sports. So
yeah, it'll definitely be fun to see how the draft plays out. I mean, I think obviously we know what the Bears are going to do. The Vikings, it's a little bit more of an enigma at this point, but I mean, in a few short weeks, we're going to know.
It's going to be,
and it'll be what it'll be. I have a little game that I think we should play.
Ooh,
I came up with this while we were sitting here.
All right, I love it.
And I think this will be a good way for us to close. We could take this a few different directions, but I was thinking it'd be fun to come up with our best beer quarterback comparison. Ooh. So, for example, this is a silly one, but we'll just say Patrick Mahomes, Miller High Life. The champagne of beers, because he's the one that has won the most, and you can choose, right? So one of us could come up with a quarterback that aligns well with the Skol hop, Hoppy American Amber, or you could go any quarterback, any beer. Doesn't matter, but I thought that would be kind of fun. Kind of a metaphor of sorts, comparing beer and quarterbacks.
I really like the idea. Now my brain is...
I've got something working.
All right.
So
you go first then.
The beer is not necessarily a specific one. It's a type of beer. So if you're familiar with bourbon barrel-aged beers, these breweries, some of them have hyped up annual releases of their very hyped up, very expensive. Sometimes for a bottle, you're paying what's a good bourbon barrel aged bottle usually go for, like at least $20?
Yeah, if it's a variant, yeah.
Doesn't
20 to $30?
Doesn't 312 out of Chicago come out with a really good one every year?
I'm sure.
The 312 is part of Goose Island. It's their wheat
That's
ale,
what I meant.
but Goose Island is who creates the bourbon barrel.
So yeah, these bourbon barrel aged, very expensive, very hyped up. It's not for everybody. Lots of people love them. Lots of people don't like them. They're a strong flavor, and
acquired taste.
Sometimes they hit you too hard. And
have you been hit too hard by a barrel aged?
We don't need to go there. We don't need to go there, Ev.
All right, that's fair.
So expensive, hyped up, good, but not for everybody. Kirk Cousins.
Ooh, throwing shade on
and I'm a Kirk Cousins fan.
Already.
I'm a Kirk Cousins fan.
He's only been gone for like a month and a half, man. Come on.
I'm a fan, but he's definitely this offseason hyped up, expensive, not for everybody, but good. Bourbon barrel aged Kirk Cousins.
All right, so going to kind of the same analogy, but I'm gonna go with a specific beer.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Bell's Two Hearted.
Okay.
It's a beer that is, I'd say, top 5 for me of all time.
Agreed.
It always ranks high on all the beer lists of must tries in your lifetime because of its such success. Tom Brady.
Oh,
is the GOAT of the IPAs, I think.
All right.
Two-Hearted, the GOAT. It is the Tom Brady. Comes from Michigan too.
He does.
He does, and so does it. The beer comes from Michigan. So there you go. Wow. That's
you took it a step further, even deeper. That was pretty good.
Well, I teach English, so we always talk about metaphors, and you got to be able to dig deep on those things. That's a good one, though. Yeah. Two Hearted is definitely in my top 5 as well. It is phenomenal.
Do you have anything?
I was going to go a little bit more of a satirical route, a little bit more of a...
Let's go.
Kind of a funny... Well, I mean, I felt like my Pat Mahomes Miller High Life was pretty good.
You did say that.
But that was the example. That wasn't my actual one. I'll go with a classic. It's one that I drank a lot in college. It's good when you're young, but as you get older, you can't really drink a whole lot of those anymore. They don't taste very good. So the beer would be Old Milwaukee.
The beast.
And they're cheap, right? You can get a 30-pack of Old Milwaukee.
Old Milwaukee, not Milwaukee's best. I was like,
Old Milwaukee.
Old Milwaukee. Okay.
Old Milwaukee.
All right.
Old Milwaukee. You can get a 30-pack of Old Milwaukee for less than $20, I think, here. Maybe it's a little more than $20. But anyways, you can get them for a bargain. Cheaper than almost every other beer. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson on this one. I'm going to throw a little shade on Russell Wilson.
The Steelers are getting a bargain on him.
They're getting a huge bargain on him. I think he is the Old Milwaukee of the quarterback market right now. Still good. I mean, I would enjoy an Old Milwaukee or two, but I think he's proven in Denver the last couple of seasons that he just doesn't have it like he used to. And that's the way I feel about Old Milwaukee. I just don't have the taste for that like I used to back in the day. So there you go.
That was pretty good, Evan. I like that one a lot.
All right. I got another one.
Oh,
we're doing one more round?
I got another. We don't all have to do it, but...
we can do 2 rounds.
All right. So... I don't know if I've ever talked about this specific beer on the podcast because it's a Scotty beer. But
I don't know if we can allow this.
It might be it might be in the category of perfect beers.
Ooh, okay.
And me saying that, Forrest knows exactly what I'm going to say. Evan, you might know what I'm going to say.
Yes, I do.
It's a hoppy one. Forrest makes somewhat frequent trips to Wisconsin, and he has an open knowledge that anytime he crosses the border and is coming back, he just sends me the Venmo request and brings me back a pack of Moon Man from New Glarus. So, oh crap. Oh, yeah. Perfect beer. Nothing wrong with it. Elevates anything else around it, food, environment, everything else. Peyton Manning.
Nice.
Moon Man. Peyton Manning is the Moon Man of beers. Of quarterbacks.
That's a strong metaphor there. Peyton Manning, the Moon Man of beers.
Of quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I said it wrong.
You did say it wrong, and then I repeated it wrong.
So Peyton Manning, not Eli Manning, Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton.
Yeah. Are you saying Eli's better than Peyton?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm just was making sure that we had clarification of the Manning, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you have a second one? Or do you need a minute?
I might need another minute, so if you have one, go for it.
All right. Just to go back to my first one really quick, Russell Wilson played at Wisconsin.
Okay.
Old Milwaukee's from Wisconsin. So there's just another connection there. Did
he play at NC State too?
He started there and then transferred to Wisconsin.
One season, like a grad season at Wisconsin.
Yeah. I know he played for Wisconsin. I think he graduated from there. That's where he ended his college career.
Yeah.
Oh, I got one once. You go for it.
No, you go ahead. I might need a minute now. If you've got one, you go.
So I'm going to kind of go a little darker on this one.
Oh, no. So darker, like dark beers or dark topics?
No, kind of not horrible topics.
Is this quarterback still with us?
I mean...
No.
So just hear me out. So I'm going with the beer Bud Light.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I was a big Bud Light fan. I still drink Bud Light, but obviously with all the controversy and everything, Michael Vick.
Oh, I thought you were going a different number 7.
I'm gonna put Vic as a comparable Bud Light, where popular but got into some major trouble and never really could bounce back.
He did bounce back.
Yeah, he never really
He
was
had
as
a
what he was.
MVP-like season with the Eagles.
And his popularity, though.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
I mean, Bud Light's bouncing back from a sales perspective, but I don't think they'll ever fully recover. So
I thought you were gonna go Niners quarterback Kaepernick. I thought you were gonna go Colin Kaepernick.
I could have done that, I guess, too. But
good. I see where you're going. That was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
That was a good one. Man, I thought I had one, and then it kind of fell apart as I started thinking about it. So I have to regroup here. But I think we'll stick with the domestics for now. Mm-hmm. The big popular domestics. Obviously, Bud Light has been controversial, as you've mentioned. So I know for me personally, I've switched my domestic allegiance to Coors. Coors Light. I have some in the fridge right now in the garage, actually. And actually, I feel like for a long time that's been my favorite domestic. I'll drink the others. Nothing wrong with it. I feel like Busch Light kind of got the side effects of the Bud Light because Anheuser-Busch owns both. So they kind of experienced the backlash of the Bud Light stuff. People stopped buying Busch Light, and I drank Busch Light for a while too, and I don't mind Busch Light. But yeah. Coors Light has always been kind of my preferred domestic. So we'll stick with that as the beer. And just going in line with just preferences, steady, good, never disappointing, always performing, always doing what is needed, always doing what is required. There have been some good quarterbacks mentioned already, but we'll go with a classic here, Fran Tarkenton.
Ooh. All right.
Vikings classic.
So are you calling Coors Light a Hall of Fame domestic beer?
I would say so.
I mean, it is,
as long as the mountains are
through
blue.
The test of time.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
As long as the mountains are blue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a good Coors Light. I mean,
and Fran Tarkenton, if we could just peel back the purple, I think we would see Blue Mountains under that jersey. I think we would see Blue Mountains there.
All right.
So it's maybe not the perfect analogy, but it works.
This was a really good idea. I liked this game.
Good off the fly game there.
We'll have to play it with maybe some other positions down the road.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. You figured something out there, Ep.
Beer and football.
Yeah.
It's a good combination.
Can't go wrong.
Well, we've had some really good beer that we made with our own hands.
And they're both, we each had 2 bottles, and there's not 10 ounces between each of our glasses.
Yeah,
so
we're going to be out of it pretty soon, but we still have more in the keg, and we're excited to tap that and share that with some people here locally, so that'll be fun.
Absolutely.
Also, good conversation. Brew process,
Great.
Very insightful, educational for me, and excited to maybe do it again.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm 100% on board. So
And the draft, man, lots to look forward to for both the Bears and the Vikings.
It's going to be exciting, like you said, for both teams, just because they're eager to get that next franchise quarterback. I think so.
Lots to look forward to for sure. Well, we'll wrap it up here, and
real quick, Forrest, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being the master brewer, for guiding us through the process, coming on the show, being a great conversation piece.
It's always fun.
We appreciate you coming on. You have an open invitation anytime you want to come on. It's always a good time.
Can you give us one Skol for the Skol hop?
How about this? I will say hop after you say.
Oh man, it's still an H word.
I'll say the whole thing. I'll say the beer or the podcast name.
All right. Well, here we go. That was episode 34.
For the beer.
Yeah, for the beer.
For the beer.
For the beer.
FTB.
Skol.
Skol.
Skol hop.
Yeah.
Hey Vikings fans, Evan here from the Skol Hop, and we just wanted to say thank you again so much for listening to the Skol Hop, and we also wanted to take one more opportunity to let you know that this episode of the Skol Hop has been brought to you by Big Top Ventures. If you're considering taking an all-inclusive trip to either Mexico or Jamaica, reach out to our friends at Big Top Ventures at bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Once again, that's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. You can get the lowest rate possible on several all-inclusive resorts throughout the region. Big Top Ventures. Step right up to your next big adventure. And thanks again for listening to the Skol Hop. Skol.